Hey guys, so I'm back on camera and I'm on camera, and I know there a lot of people have already talked about, a Shartimus interview at San Diego Comic-Con. But I just thought I'd chime in for like a few minutes. And it's only because we ask ourselves, why did Hasbro's employees react that way, right? Why did they all of a sudden almost reel back in absolute horror when Shartimus went rogue on them, right? So one of the reasons I think that it's not I think, I know, these poor guys have probably become accustomed to Shartimus's cuddly, feel-good type of interviews, and the problem with that is that Shartimus started to lose some credibility, and of course, as one does when one depends on some of that, number one, for their livelihood, and number two, for their reputation online, their brand. Let me start off first. I actually like Shartimus. I wish him all the best. I wish he, I think he did a great service to us when he asked those tough questions. I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem asking employees who volunteer to be the face or that work as the face of an organization, asking them hard questions because you volunteered to go do that. So now you get to answer these questions, right? So anyway, Shartimus asked these tough questions. Number one, why do you produce crappy figures? Number two, why do you not give us all the figures with the correct articulation and just, give us junk sometimes, or the correct accessories, right? Why do you do these things? These hard questions that he asked, and Hasbro employees didn't want to answer that, right? I think they kind of answered them for us, but, I don't think they answered them in a concise, surmised way. They kind of danced around it really, really pretty like, right? Well, as best as they could. And they had a strong reaction because they've probably gotten their hands slapped a few times for saying it out loud. They were probably told, listen, we have to show the community of collectors that we care. We have to represent that Hasbro cares. We have to say that we care. We have to, put on a good face. And we could never admit what everybody or every educated businessman already knows. And we'll get into what that is in a minute. It's odd to me why we sit around and go, do they actually care about me? We'll get into that in a minute. So, yeah, I think they were used to Shartimus throwing little puff balls at them, and they would hit them out of the ballpark, right? And that's why they didn't ask for his, Shartimus, we don't need to go over your questions. If they'd have had somebody like Bobby Valla up there, which they probably never let him interview them, or not that he would want to anyways, because he's done with them. Or, they might have somebody like, one of these other YouTubers, that's got some really tough questions. And there's a bunch of articulated ninja would have probably had some tough questions for him. And maybe even Laser Pants, or the Potato as we call him, would have had some good questions for him. But, I think that, those individuals would have had to submit, or even JC might have to submit his questions, because every once in a while JC goes off rogue, but Shartimus rarely did, right? And he would submit, he would ask him some really, really kind of puffy ball questions. Well, the community started to see that, and they pushed back a little. And as Shartimus does, again, like I said, he wants to protect his brand. He wants to show you that he does care about us. And I truly do believe Shartimus does have the best intention of the community at heart. The interesting part was when he did ask those questions, oh, you could see the wheels on those Hasbro employees turn, and they're like, oh my gosh, she's gone off target, and what do we do now? The fallout was that Shartimus no longer gets to ask uncensored questions. He got to submit those from now on, just like everybody else, Shartimus, because we don't trust you, because we can't control your narrative anymore. You've shown us that you are uncontrollable. We can't control the story. Now, there's a reason for that. There's a reason why companies want to control the story. And it's to basically brainwash you, manipulate your thought into thinking flowery, rainbow, you know, beautiful, bubbly things. It's all rainbows and sunshine, and it's not. It's something else. So the other thing that comes in, and that's why they, you know, that's why I think Shartimus asked those questions. That's what that section was about. Now, what is Hasbro? Let's ask ourselves that. You know, what is Hasbro? At the core, what is it? Well, at the core, Hasbro is a company that was created to make a profit. I think at first it was created by individuals that wanted to have fun and make a profit, right? But I think the fun has been not taken out of it, but it's become incidental. If you have fun, great. Come to work and get your work done. But if you have fun, that's fine too, if you happen to have fun. And that's what I think we lose sight of, right? They're a job just like everything else. Hasbro is a company like every other company, like Walmart, like HEB. You guys might not know what HEB is, like, you know, Walgreens, or, you know, any other thousands and millions of companies that are out there. They're in it first to make money. And it sounds greedy, but I mean, it's what makes the world turn, right? Every one of us has to have a job at some point, has to have the ability to make money, has the ability to support our families, and that comes from making money. So what does that have to do with the reaction that Hasbro had? Well, if they just come out and say it, number one, we're just trying to make these figures at the bare minimum price so that we can rake in the bucks. And if, you know, to appease some of you guys, to throw them off your scent a little, we're going to go ahead and, you know, one or two figures, make them like they want to. But if you can reuse a couple of pieces, please do that as well, because we want to save some money. You know, executives got to have their bonuses, and so do the, you know, some of the regular employees even might get bonuses. So that's where some of that money might come from, right? But there's a bigger piece to that, right? There's a much bigger piece. So Hasbro likes to control the narrative to throw you off a little bit. They want you to think it's all sunshines and rainbows, when the real truth is, no, it's really about making money. And what is the least amount of product I can give you to make you happy and buy this so that I can make some money? And if I can thread that needle as lean as possible, then I am succeeding at this company's goal, which is maximum profitability, minimum product. That's what you want. That's what it is ultimately. So don't act surprised. We can't act surprised when that's what it is. Now, the biggest component of this, and why certain smaller organizations are free to actually care, that's why, like I said, 60% of my money goes into, you know, some of the smaller toy retailer, or 40% of my toy collecting money goes to the smaller retailers, and 60% of it goes to, you know, like the big badge of the entertainment earth. But still, I like to take a sizable portion and give it to the smaller guy. And this is why. Publicly traded companies like Hasbro have a fiduciary responsibility. Their executives have a fiduciary responsibility to take all of your money and to do it efficiently, and to do it with the minimum effort and maximum profitability. And if they're not doing that, then they're not doing their jobs, and they're not doing their job effectively, because that 401k, those investments that me, you, I, everybody else is waiting to retire on, that's where that money comes from. Wall Street. The 401ks that we put all our money in, it's got a chunk of Hasbro in it, I bet. I mean, I don't know where some of them are. I have my own little one that I do. But then there's the ones that, you know, the bigger ones that companies do that have a piece of everything. Coca-Cola, a piece of Pepsi, a piece of McDonald's, a piece of Hasbro, a piece of this, a piece of that. And all of these companies will join together for a portfolio to see how much they can gain to return to those 401ks. And the big hedge funds companies that run those 401ks exert a lot of pressure on these executives and companies to get that money out of you, which is, it's a weird cycle, right? First, they take the money all away from you. And then maybe, you know, when you retire, you're free to dole it out back to yourself. So it's kind of a circle, you know, and I don't know why everybody is shocked and surprised when companies, always keep this in mind, minimum product, maximum profitability. That's just the bottom line. That is what it is. But ultimately, you know, that 401k that you may or may not have, that many of our parents have, many of you have, that's where that money's going to. The private guy, though, they may not, they're free to do a little bit, they're free to control their own message and to say whatever they want, because they don't have a fiduciary like SEC type of law placed on them. I mean, they have a little bit of those, but they're free to make their own mistakes and not be held accountable by these multi-billion-dollar hedge funds that say, you messed up, I'm gonna jack you up. No, you know, you're a smaller company, you're able to make those changes. Bobby Vala is able to call his own shots. Even Nerdzoic, he's able to call his own shots and sell stuff the way he feels like he's gonna sell it. I don't think GameStop is. GameStop has to answer. I don't think Entertainment Earth does. Entertainment Earth's got to answer to somebody. Walmart has to answer to their hedge funds, their investors. And so again, I don't think any of us can act surprised when we find out that, hey, you know, why are they this greedy? I've just explained it to you, why they are. Is it good for a company to tell you the absolute truth? I just told you the absolute truth. I don't know. Do with it what you will. It is what it is. So ultimately, I think it is good for a company to control some of the narrative, but don't be fooled by it. You know, remember those two things I just told you: minimum product, maximum profitability. That's all it is. And if every once in a while you got to throw a bone to these collectors to keep them happy, so be it. Throw them a nickel, throw them a dime. You know, and it is what it is. You know, I think the Four Horsemen are still privately owned. I think Valaverse is privately owned. I know Valaverse is privately owned. And that's why I try to give them a lot of money, a lot of my collecting money as well, because as much as we complain that some of these figures are a little bit more pricey, I think ultimately they're the ones that really do. They're the ones that Hasbro aspire to be, to communicate and engage with you, the collector. So anyways, guys, I just had to, kind of, put my 2 cents out there. Don't ever forget that these companies aren't really here to be fuzzy happy. They're here for, what did I say? Minimum product, maximum profitability. And if I need to throw a bone to you every once in a while, you have this much budget. You guys figure out which 2 of the 5 you want to make awesome, and the other ones just reuse some parts and throw some paint on them and chunk them out the door. And then we can make some money off of that. I'm willing to part with this chunk of money to make this pile of money. But again, is it all bad? Remember that 401k that Hasbro's been keeping for you? That might not be so bad. Remember, I'm just saying. Take the good with the bad. Collect. Here's what I do personally. I collect what I love, not for an investment. And if I happen to miss a couple of figures because I know what you were doing there, I'm just going to pick and choose the figures that I want and go from there. Don't collect. Don't do this hobby for investing. Do this hobby because it's fun. Do this hobby because it brings you joy. And ultimately, don't act surprised when Hasbro is pulling the rug out of from under you, because it's a company after all, And if it's legal, they're going to do it. They're going to do it. And they really showed you who they are when they started doing all these HASLabs. That's putting all the risk on you. So it's a company. I think they wanted to do something nice for us, but the executive said, how are we going to explain this to the investors? Oh, we're going to put all the risk on the people investing the money to build this thing, which is not the investor, it's the customer. Then yes, that's good for engagement. That's all it was. And we seem to love some of what they're doing. So ultimately, I don't think Hasbro's bad or evil. They're just a company. They're just a company like everybody else. Like Walmart. Walmart, some people hate Walmart. Like HEB. Some people love HEB. HEB is a grocery store in Texas that is absolutely adored by Texans, because it should be. It's an amazing store with amazing ethics, and it's just a great store. But it's still, ultimately, it's just a company, and it's in for profitability. So anyways, guys, if you agree or disagree with me in the comments below, leave your thoughts. And again, I don't mean to disrespect any of the YouTubers, and I don't think I have in this video. I think if you're a toy reviewer, a YouTuber, a toy influencer, whatever you call yourself, and you put yourself out there on the web, you open yourself up for criticism. It's just what it is, and I think it takes a little bit of you got have a little bit of steel in your soul to be out there doing that, and it's to be admired. So, not that I'm saying that about me, because I'm just a guy who loves to collect toys. That's it. I'm nowhere near Shartimus. I'm nowhere near Bobby. I'm nowhere near any of those guys. They've been doing it forever. I've been doing it forever, but I haven't been tested like that yet. So, anyways, you guys, thanks for watching. Let me know in the comments below what you thought about these. If you like these little segments, let me know, and I'll do some more. I appreciate you guys watching. As always, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to like if you're so inclined. And remember, as long as you keep watching, I'll keep rolling them out.